and welcome to another video essay on international law. In today's expose, I shall discuss the hierarchical status of treaties of extradition in the Brazilian legal system. In this context, I shall utilize the Supreme Court ruling in the writ of habeas corpus number 58727 as a paradigm for understanding the court's interpretation of the matter. After a brief summary of the facts underlying the case, I shall proceed to scrutinize the grounds on which the court ruled. On the 13th of August 1980, Mexican citizen Priton Singh Kaur was arrested by order of the Interpol in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He was supposed to be extradited to the United States in order to be criminally prosecuted, but no formal request was made by the United States until the 5th of November of the same year. A writ of habeas corpus was then filed before the Brazilian Supreme Court in order to release Mr. Kaur from jail. The plaintiff argued that the Treaty of Extradition between Brazil and the United States set forth a deadline of 60 days after the arrest, during which the governments of both countries could file a formal request for extradition. Therefore, considering the belated request made by the government of the United States, the patient should be set free. Against that thesis, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Brazil argued that the Foreigner Statute of Brazil, then effective, established a deadline of 90 days for a request to be made. Thus, the request filed by the United States would not be considered untimely. The justices drew upon elementary principles of treaty law and also from basic notions of legal interpretation as grounds for their ruling. First, they made it clear that the Treaty of Extradition between Brazil and the United States was part of the Brazilian legal system ever since it was internalized by decree, and then it could not simply be set aside in favor of a domestic piece of legislation without sufficient grounds. As such, they then proceeded to investigate which was the hierarchical status of that treaty within the Brazilian legal system. First, it was stressed that the treaty did not possess a superior hierarchical status than the statute. Both were considered ordinary laws in the Brazilian legal system, making it impossible for the justices to resort to hierarchy as a means to solve the apparent conflict. Considering that the treaty brought forth rules concerning the extradition procedures solely between the two aforementioned countries, the justices concluded that it was a specific body of law in comparison with Brazil's Foreigner Statute, which foresaw merely general aspects of extradition. As such, still by means of the traditional criteria of legal interpretation in cases of apparent conflict between legal norms, the court ruled that the speciality of the treaty, in comparison with the statute, demanded it to be observed in spite of the latter, even if both set forth different deadlines for the formalization of the request for extradition. Therefore, the deadline of 60 days was the one held valid in cases concerning Brazil and the United States, and not the one of 90 days foreseen by Brazilian domestic legislation. Thus, the court ruled that the patient be released from jail. We can then conclude that in the Brazilian legal system, treaties of extradition are special norms, mainly due to their highlighted contractual nature in comparison with general domestic statutes. They, however, do not stand on a superior level than statutes when it comes to the legal pyramid. Treaties in general are considered ordinary laws in Brazil, and this rule was not set aside by the Supreme Court in the ruling that was just discussed. They merely are more specific than statutes when it comes to the object of the norms they convey. As such, if an apparent conflict should arise between a statute and a treaty of extradition, the latter should prevail. This has been another video essay on international law. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe.